LeetCode Problem 242, Valid Anagram. So this problem gives us two strings, S and T, and we return true if T is an anagram of S or vice versa, and false otherwise. So an anagram means that, let's say for example, this string can be made of characters from string T, and every character is used exactly once, and there is no leftover characters or missing characters. So I have two approaches to this problem. My first approach is to sort both strings and then compare them after it's sorted. So in this function, I first compare their sizes, the string sizes, and if they're not the same, we know it's impossible to recreate a string if one string is shorter than another, so we just return false. After that, I just sort both strings, and then it returns true or false depending whether or not S is equals to T. So for example, let's say I have two strings here, BAC, CDA. Once they are sorted, it will look like this, ABC, ACD. And since both sorted strings do not equal to each other, they are not, then this function will return false. But let's say if this were to be B, then T sorted will be ABC, and both strings are equal, and it will return true. My next approach is to use a map. So this map is used to store the characters in the string S as key and the appearances of that character as an integer in the map as a value. So for example, in this function, okay, same thing as above, I check whether the size is the same. If they're not the same, I just return false. And then for each character in string S, I put in the characters and increase its value if it already exists. So for example, BAC, right? So you look like this. And you'll sort itself, since actually no, it won't sort itself since it's an ordered map. And after that, I use another for loop to iterate through every character in T, right? So this if statement checks whether the character inside T exists or not in the map. If it doesn't exist, which means the value is less than or equals to 0, it will return false. And if it does exist, it will just reduce the count of the appearances. So for example, since it is CBA, right? So C will be 0, B0, A0, and it finishes iterating through the characters of string T, and you return true. That means S is an anagram of T. But let's say if I have an extra B here, right? Actually, let's say I have extra B and a D, like this. Then my B will be 2, 1, 1, right? So this will check, and since there's no D, it will return false. But let's say if this were to be C instead. So C equals 0, and then the next character is C again, and since it already equals to 0, it will return false. It means S is not an anagram of T. So that's how my second approach is. That's all I have to show. Thanks.